If you've seen my previous announcement video, you'll have seen the very exciting news that I'm moving house. But what this means is that I now need to get my flat ready to sell. And if you've seen my other videos, you'll have seen that my flat is slightly interesting when it comes to networking and smart home technology. There's an absolute ton of networking equipment that's very specialised that you just wouldn't really be able to pass to someone else if they're not really going to expect it or know how to understand how to maintain it and use it. And a lot of the smart home stuff is based around Home Assistant and Node-RED running on my server. So if I moved out and took all the servers with me, essentially people would come into light switches that didn't work, light bulbs that were stuck on, and just various things that wouldn't work properly. So in this video what we're going to be doing is ripping everything out. So we're going to be taking out all my networking equipment here, we're going to be taking out various TVs, patching the walls, removing smart bulbs, removing smart switches, putting normal switches back in, and an absolute ton of stuff like that. Now of course this is going to be a very complicated process, it's going to take a good couple of weeks to do, so I'm not going to be filming the entire thing, but what I'll do is I'll kind of go through each room or each area individually, talk about what's there and what needs to be done, and I'll sort of pop in and check in every so often as I'm getting on with it to kind of show the tear out process. Just thought it'd be kind of interesting to do because obviously throughout all my historical videos you'll have seen this place being built up and all these things being installed, so it kind of makes sense to make a video taking it all out again. So first of all, we'll take a look at where it all began, in the hallway comms cabinet. So this is the sort of core of the network, and I'm not going to be ripping this completely out. Because realistically, the network cabling is potentially useful for the next person. They might not use it at all, they might end up using this cabinet just to store cleaning supplies, who knows, but there's no real point ripping it out, because if I took it all out, it just means it's not there for the next person, and realistically, a bunch of cable and some network jacks is really not worth anything to me. Especially when you factor in my time taking it all out and patching the walls, it's just not worth taking that sort of thing out. So what we're doing with this cabinet is we're taking out all the active equipment, so the router, the switches, all that kind of stuff, they're all going to come out along with the CCTV NVR, but I'll still be leaving in the patch panel and the PDU. That means that if a potential buyer wants to actually use this, they want to use some of the network drops, they could either install their own switch here, or even if they just want to use a couple of the ports in different rooms, they could even take their ISP's provided router that probably has 4 network ports on the back, plug a couple of those into the patch panel and connect up a couple of the ports. So yep, in here we're going to be taking out all the active equipment, but we'll be leaving the patch panel and the PDU. The next thing we have in this cupboard is the alarm system. And I'm not going to be taking this out just because it is useful for the next person, and then in the new place I'll be installing a wired alarm system, whereas this is wireless, so it's not really worth anything to me. But I'll be making a couple of changes. Because if you can see above that, you can see a little box that says power supply control. This is connected to an electronic door lock, and the cupboard door has a maglock attached to it, which you can see up there. And this is an interesting thing that I did, where when the alarm system is armed, this cupboard automatically locks itself, which is really good for protecting all the network equipment and the CCTV NVR. However, it's a slightly weird thing to have, and I don't really think it's a good idea to give people, unsuspecting people who might buy this place, a cupboard that sort of automatically locks itself. Just in case the system ever goes wrong and they get locked out their cupboard. It's just a bit of a weird thing that probably wouldn't provide much benefit to anyone buying this place. I'd rather get rid of it just so it doesn't cause any confusion. Likewise, you can see the alarm is also wired into the network. This is using a serial to network adapter that's inside the alarm panel, and it's connected to a completely bespoke integration through Node-RED. So it's really not a sort of standard smart integration that anyone else could use. So I'll be taking out the smart connectivity as well, just because it wouldn't really work for anyone else and it would just cause confusion. So we'll be leaving the alarm system, but we'll be taking out the smart connectivity and also taking out that door lock, just because the door lock really wouldn't work for anyone else that isn't expecting it. Next up in my office I have an additional rack, and this contains all my servers. Now this isn't hardwired into anything, all there is behind this is a pair of network ports on the wall and a couple of double sockets. So all this can just easily be taken out and disconnected, and I won't need to really do anything behind here at all. In this room we also have a TV on the wall, so that'll need to come down. Behind that is a double socket and a couple of network points, and I think an aerial point. So the cables and all the network points and stuff, they'll all stay in, so all I need to do is take the TV down and then patch the wall where the bracket's fitted. In here I've also got these acoustic panels that are on the wall, because this is where I do all my filming, so these will also all need to come out and I'll need to patch the wall behind them. These shouldn't be too bad because they are just in with, I think each of them just has 2 screws into the wall, so they should be easy enough to remove, but I will need to go around and do all that, so that'll be fun. But yeah, that's my office. Next up we have the living room, which is probably where I have most of my work cut out for me. And that's because I've got to take out the TV, speakers, and loads of other stuff. So in here we've got 5 speakers installed around the room. It's a 5.1 system, And for each of these, the speaker cable just sticks straight out the wall and into the speaker. Now, of course, all the speakers are going to come out, but I still want to leave the cables in for the next person. So what I'm going to do is where the cable comes out the wall, rather than just leaving a cable hanging out, I'm going to install a very small little speaker faceplate that will go on the wall, sit flush with the wall, and give a couple of connections so if someone did want to use it in the future, they could connect up a speaker. And likewise, if they did ever want to take the speaker cabling completely out, it'd be a very small hole in the wall to patch. So I'll just go around, get all these speakers off the wall, repair all the fixing holes for all the brackets and stuff, and then replace those cables with the binding post plates. Behind the TV is just a double socket, a couple of network points, an aerial point, and an HDMI cable that runs down to the AV cabinet. So I'll be leaving all that in because that could be useful if someone wants to wall mount a TV. However, I need to take the bracket down and repair the wall. Of course, in the living room I also have this AV cabinet, that's obviously going to be coming out, and then behind here there's just some neat wall plates, so I don't really need to do much repairing here. There's just a double socket, 4 network points, some speaker points, and then things like an aerial and HDMI run up to the TV. So all those points can just be left on the wall. There shouldn't really be much mess behind here, so that should be easy enough to take out. The other thing we need to do in the living room is remove the smart lighting system. Because in here, all of the 9 down lights contain smart bulbs, and they're all controlled by this in-wall touchscreen and this little switch here that's connected to a Shelly. So this isn't a physical light switch, it's a smart switch, and it requires my server to operate. So if I were just to move out, take all the servers, what you'd end up with is a switch here that didn't do anything, so you wouldn't be able to control the lights, and you'd have this little touchscreen that would just be displaying like a page cannot be found message because it wouldn't be able to connect to the server. So all this needs to come out. So what I'll be doing is taking out the touchscreen, just repairing the wall, that's dead easy to do. And then where there's this switch here, all I need to do is take out the switch, take out the Shelly, and just put a normal light switch in. So that should be dead easy to do. And then of course, along with that, I need to take out all the smart bulbs and just put some normal GU10 bulbs and all the downlights, which should be relatively easy to do. Through in the bedroom, we have a very similar situation to the living room. TV needs to come off the wall, and I need to repair where the bracket's installed. And then behind there, that'll just leave a double socket, 2 network points, and an aerial point. And then once again, I need to take out the little in-wall touchscreen, repair the wall, and swap out the light switch, the smart switch, for a standard light switch, and also take out the smart bulbs and put some normal light bulbs in. Finally, we have the hallway where we have some smart lighting we need to remove. As standard, this place just had 2-way switching in the hallway, so there was a switch by the front door, a switch by the living room door, and it was just standard 2-way switching. Instead, to give some smart functionality, I've installed a Shelly dimmer. So we've got a retractive switch by the front door and a retractive switch here with a Shelly dimmer in behind this switch. And it basically works like a standard light switch, except it's got a Shelly dimmer in it, so I can dim the lights and have them do things like turn on automatically when I come in from outside. All I need to do in here is remove the Shelly dimmer and replace the 2 switches with just standard light switches and go back to standard 2-way switching again. So that's dead easy to do. And then finally in the hallway, we have a ceiling mounted access point. Now this obviously needs to come out because it would be no use for anyone else, and also it's a very expensive access point. I was kind of torn as to what to do with the cable behind there because it's just a standard Cat6 cable sticking out the ceiling. I did toy with the idea of maybe putting like a network socket on the ceiling so someone else could potentially use it, but realistically, chances are no one's going to really care about having an access point up here other than me or a very technical person buying the place. So I may as well just take this out, take the cable out, patch the ceiling just so they have a normal ceiling in their hallway, nothing weird up there. If in the future someone did want to install a ceiling mounted access point, it's actually dead easy to do in this place because as you can see I've got downlights everywhere and it's a completely dropped ceiling, so there's a complete empty void above the ceiling. So if someone did ever want to run a cable in for an access point in anywhere in the flat, doesn't necessarily have to be here, all they need to do is pop the downlights down, feed a cable through the ceiling and run it into the cabinet. So for this I may as well just take the cable completely out and patch the ceiling up, so that's what I'll be doing. So there you go. That's a look at all the work I need to do to get this place back to a normal state where a normal, non-technical person can move in and actually use the place. So what I'll do now is I'll go away and start work on this, I'll start taking things out, and I'll just sort of check in now and then just to sort of show the status updates and show how I'm getting on. So hopefully by the next time you see this, there'll be a bit less stuff, maybe, I don't know. Let's see how we get on. Okay, so we have a bit of progress. What I've now done is I've taken the TV off the wall, put it on the stand in the corner there, which looks absolutely ridiculous because it's way oversized for that stand, but the TV is now out of the way so I can now start patching the wall behind it. Also, having moved that TV, I now have no idea how I'm going to transport that to the new house because it is so heavy and I forgot how heavy and unwieldy it is. I think I might need to actually buy some sort of shipping box for it because I don't have the box for it, so no idea how that's going to move, so that'll be an adventure. But yeah, what I now need to do is repair the wall behind this TV. And as you can see, there's a fair bit of work to do. Because the TV's been moved and changed over the years, so there's a bunch of different holes down here from various speaker positions, because they moved the speakers down, I've had different speakers, for the centre speakers, that all needs patched. I'll need to take the bracket off and patch the screw holes for that. And then above that, I've got a bit of a situation I need to deal with. Because when I first put the TV on the wall, I was an idiot and tried to hang off the bracket. Ripped a hole in the wall and then had to sort of try and patch it. So this was like, I think, about a week into home ownership. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. So to try and repair the wall, what I did was glue the bits of plasterboard back together, put some mesh tape over it, and then just put loads of filler in it. But what it now means is you can maybe just about see there's loads of, it's sitting really proud and is not a smooth surface at all. If you come in a bit closer, you can see what I mean. It's all like really proud here, sitting really proud. There's no way that even when it's painted would it totally work. And the problem was I was just lazy, realised what I did, put the TV on the wall properly and just mounted the TV over it. And since then I've just kind of had a TV over it and not bothered about it. But of course, now I'm moving, there won't be a TV here, so this needs to be repaired. So I'm going to see what I can do. I think first of all, I'll try and sand it down and see if I can remotely get any sort of smooth finish just by sanding it and then maybe putting sort of a skim coat or something over it. If not, I might need to actually just cut this plasterboard out around damaged areas and just patch some new pieces in. So that's going to be an adventure, but needs to be done. And this is why I've started with the TV in here, because I know this is going to be a complete pain, so I'd rather start here so I've got loads of time to deal with this, rather than leaving it to the last minute and having to sort this over the last couple of days before moving. So I've got a good couple of weeks to get this dealt with before I have to move. So yeah, that's going to be a fun adventure. Okay, so we're back and I've got a bit of progress. So as you can see, what I've now done is I've taken the TV off the wall and I managed to patch that wall. I end up just cutting out the plasterboard and patching a new piece in, and it looks absolutely fine. Still needs another couple of coats of paint just to completely hide it, but yeah, that's completely smooth, so that's absolutely fine. So yep, it's looking a lot better. The next thing I need to do is sort all these cables that are hanging out the wall. So as you can see, there's a HDMI cable hanging out where the TV used to be, and then where the speakers used to be, there's just speaker cables hanging out the wall, which obviously isn't going to work for someone else moving in. So if we take a look down here, we can see what we've got. I've got these HDMI Euro modules, so I'll be installing these on those HDMI cables to replace the cable hanging out the wall. So on the wall instead of the cable, you'll have just a flat HDMI port, which will look a lot better. And then for the speakers, I've got these, which are Architrave speaker binding posts. So I think they're kind of homemade. I bought them from eBay, but essentially they're BG Architrave blanking plates with a couple of speaker binding posts on them. So the idea is that I can install these into the wall using this Architrave dry lining box that it came with, and it'll mean that where each speaker used to be and where there's a cable hanging out the wall, instead you'll just have a little speaker plate like that that'll look a lot neater. Of course you can get, say, speaker Euro module plates or full size ones the size of a normal socket or switch, but these Architrave ones are just a little bit neater, they're just a lot smaller. So yep, where each of these speaker cables comes out the wall, all I need to do is just cut an Architrave box in and then wire one of those plates on, and I'll just have them around the room, and that'll look a lot neater than what we have here. Okay, and there we go, so that's all tidied up. So as you can see, if we look up here at the HDMI module, you can see we've now got a regular HDMI module in the wall, so that's a lot neater than the cable hanging out. And then if we take a look down at the speaker plate, once again we see we've now got some relatively neat speaker plates on the wall. There for the centre speaker, and then over to the side there we've got ones for the other speakers as well. So they're definitely a lot neater than having the bare cables hanging out the wall, especially if someone was to move in and either not use these at all or not immediately use these. So yeah, that's the living room now sorted. Now, as for my office, we've got a bit more progress. So I've got the TV down, patched the wall behind that. So all I need to do is disconnect my desk, the server rack, and my sort of filming table, get all this dismantled. So yeah, that shouldn't take too long, so that's good. And yeah, the bit walls all patched where the TV used to be, so that's all pretty good. And then through in the bedroom, I've taken the TV down and again patched the wall where that was. Alongside this, I've also removed all the smart switching and just put standard bulbs in instead of all the smart bulbs. So all the lighting is now sort of just standard regular lighting, so that's ready for the next people to move in. So yeah, that's everything mostly done. So all I need to do is sort those little things I mentioned there, and then we can start taking out the actual networking equipment. So next thing I'm going to do is pop this access point off the ceiling. I'll plug it in somewhere just so it's sitting still running, but then it allows me to patch the ceiling behind it, and I'll just try and cut the network down to the bare minimum. Because especially now that all the smart home stuff's disconnected, I don't need my Proxmox server, so that can get shut down and disconnected. I might even get rid of my NAS for the sake of a couple of days. I don't really need it. So yeah, time to get on with everything else. And we'll come back with little updates as and when I have time. And with that, the final thing we need to do is get all the servers and network disconnected. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got all this server rack in here. All this needs to come out. And all this needs to be disconnected as well. So of course, if I disconnect all this right now, I won't have an internet connection for the rest of the day, which is fairly important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect all the stuff in the main server rack in my office because I don't need any of that right now. And then out of this stuff, I'm going to take it all out the cabinet and just set up a little pile of equipment somewhere in the corner with just the core equipment just to get a working internet connection. That way the cabinet can be completely cleared out, all tidied up, and I just have a small pile of equipment that I need to take on the day. So yeah, time to go and do that. And we're back. As you can see, quite a lot's happened since I last filmed anything. I just didn't have time, I've been so busy with moving. But now, everything is now gone. So this is my office, this is where I used to have that big server rack. That's now completely disconnected, so there's just a couple of network points on the wall there. TV up there has come down. Through in the living room, everything's now gone. So as you can see, we've now got those new speaker binding posts. All the connections are still up there on the wall for the TV, and then all the connections that used to go to the AV cabinet are just hidden down in the corner there. That's all completely disconnected. Take a look around there. Once again, through in the bedroom, TV is now completely removed, all walls all being completely repaired. And then when it comes to the light switch in the bedroom and the living room, as you can see, I've now removed the smart switch, it's now just normal light switch, and I've patched the wall above where that touchscreen used to be so you can't see where it was. And then finally, in the hall cupboard, as you can see, the comms rack is now completely empty, so all I've left is just the patch panel and the PDU, just because that could be useful for the next person. And I had a spare rack shelf, so I've put it in there, so even if someone just wanted to put their ISP's router in here and potentially plug it into the patch panel, they could do that. So that's the cabinet now completely empty. TV and 10 amplifier still there because that could be useful. And then the alarm's still there, but I've removed all the smart stuff. So I've removed the weird cupboard lock that automatically locked the cupboard. And I've also removed the network module from it because that only worked with my Node-RED implementation. It wouldn't work for anyone else, so I've taken that out and it now just works as a normal conventional alarm. So there you go. That's an end of an era. I've now removed all of my networking equipment and smart home stuff from my flat. And now I'm moving into my new house where we can start it all over again. So definitely stay tuned for that. But all that's left to say now is thank you very much for watching.